So now we know how to use arrays in Python. So basically we can import the array and then we can work with it. So we can create the object of it, we can get the information about it, the buffer size, and we can print the value. But let's say I want to explore more functions or methods inside this array. How do we do it? And what are those functions? So let's try it out. So before you print, in fact, I don't want to print the buffer info anymore. And let's take ARR1. And if I say dot, you can see we have a lot of things inside this. We got something called append. Let's try what append does. And in this, I'm going to append a value, let's say 77. Again, I have to snooze my Copilot for some time. So I'm appending 77 and I'm trying to print the values here. So what will happen? So let's go back to the terminal. And if I try to run this, so it will print all the values of the array, and you can see at the end we got 77. So append basically adds the element at the end. Okay, so apart from append, what else we can do? So let's try to reverse the value. So I will say ARR1 dot, and there's a function called reverse, not remove, reverse, and let's see what this one do. I'll just clear this and run, and you can see we got the same values, but then reverse order. So the 66 which we have added at the end is the first one, so it is reversing the entire array. So likewise we can use multiple functions, and I want you to explore them, but what I want to do now is very simple stuff. Let's say I want to create another array with the same value. And you'll be saying, hey, that's simple, right? We have done that before with normal variables. What we can do is we can create a new array like ARR2, and then we can get the value from ARR1. Our job is done. And we can also print this value. So instead of using a loop now, I'm simply going to print this by passing the value of ARR1 and by passing the value of ARR2. So it should print the same value. That's what I'm expecting here. Or maybe an error. Let's see. Run, there's no error, and you got two output, and both the values are similar, or not just similar, they are same. So they are the same type, they got the same values. That's perfect. But the question is, do we have two array, or we have two variables referring to the same array? We can find out that. What we can do is, after we do that operation of assigning here, I can simply come back here and change the value of one of the array. So let's try with this. I'm going to replace this 55 with 54, and that's at the index number 2, and I'm going to set that value as 54. Now it is going to change the ARR1 for sure. What about ARR2? So let's run this, and you can see for the first array it is 54. That's what we wanted. But for the second array as well, we are changing it. That means we don't have two different arrays. We got the same array. So we just have one array and two variables are referring it. So that means we are not copying the array. How do we copy it? I want to achieve that copying part. So what I can do is I can just remove this and create a new array. That will solve our problem. So if I go back here and run this, first of all, it needs at least one argument. It needs a type. So I will specify the type as I. Now it should not be an issue. Run. So the first array has the value, second array, we don't have any value there because we are not assigning it here. So I want the value coming from the first array. Of course, I can copy paste it here, but then that's not copying the array. That's simply creating a new array by using the same values. That's hard coded. What I want to do is whatever value we have in the first array, we want in the second array. So what you can do is you can take the array 1, but then array 1 is an array. We have to pass the list. So we can convert that into a list. So I can say ARR1 dot, do we have an option of, yeah. So there's a function called tolist which we can use. So it will convert, I mean, not convert, but it will take the value from the array and fetch the list from it. And that's, as you can see, it's a function called tolist which returns a list. Okay. Hopefully this will work provided I enter the correct spelling for clear. Let's run this, and now you can see we got two different arrays. How do I know this? The first array values changed. The second array value is not changed. That means yes, we have two arrays here. That's perfect. What about the type here? I'm hard coding the type. How do I know what's the type we have in the first array? I mean, you can see it here, but let's say you are getting this value from somewhere else, from the network or from somewhere. How will you do it? Not the network, because the network you will get JSON data, but you got the point, right? You're getting this value from somewhere else. In that case, you can get the type as well. So what you can do is you can use ARR1 and you can get something called a typecode. Now using typecode, it will give you the type of the array, which is integer in this case, and we don't have to hard code the value. And that perfectly works. Now this is one way of doing it. Now you'll be saying, okay, why one way? Is it not the best way? It is one way, not the best way. Why is because you are creating a new array. Of course, you are going to use that extra memory, and then you will say, of course, when you create two different arrays, it will take extra memory. But think in this sense. When you convert this into a list, don't you think converting into a list will create a new list, which itself will take some memory in the backend? Why we are wasting that memory? So instead of using this statement here, what we can do is we can use something called a generator expression. Now what it does is, so I will show you the code first and then I will explain what is happening. Now this is the expression which you just have to put in the round brackets. Now what we have done here, it's very simple actually. We have talked about for n in ARR1. So what it will do is it will iterate in the ARR1. It will get one value which is in the n, and you can do whatever you want with it. In this case, what we are doing is we are simply saying take that value n, and this n will represent one value at a time, and it will add that to the ARR2. Now since you are copying one by one, you're not creating that extra list which was occupying some space. Okay, so this is more memory efficient. Yes, it will consume more operations, but memory efficient and not that much of operations. So it sounds like a good option there. So yeah, this is more functions which you have. So we have talked about append. In fact, I would encourage you to try out one example where you got an empty array, and we know how to get empty array now. You just have to pass the type, don't pass the values, and then ask for the value from the user. And whatever user enters the value, just add that in the array. Perfect, right? Or maybe you can ask for the size as well in the start. So you can say, okay, how many values you want to add? If a user says, I want to add 10 values, run a loop, which goes from 0 to 9 or 10 values, and then add those values and see how it works. Okay, so I'm excited to see your code. So yeah, that's about array and its functions.